In the history of modern science, there is a name both great and mysterious, Nikola Tesla. A genius who was 100 years ahead of his time, a man who dreamed of a world filled with light, where energy could be transmitted across the planet without wires, and yet, behind the dazzling inventions that changed humanity lay a tragic fate, betrayed, disregarded, living in poverty and loneliness until the very end. People once called him a mad scientist, but it cannot be denied that it was this very madness that created a legend that in this series, we will explore the entire life of Tesla, from the boy called the Child of Light, born in a storm, to the immortal symbol in the memory of mankind. A story at once glorious, tragic, and deeply inspiring. So, where does this journey begin? Let us turn back the clock to a stormy night in 1856, when Nikola Tesla was born, a child called the Son of the Storm, destined to become the Child of Light. On a summer night in 1856, the sky over Smiljan, in the Austrian Empire, now Croatia, was torn apart by fierce lightning. The wind howled, rain poured heavily, and thunder rolled across the mountains. In a modest wooden house, lit only by a flickering oil lamp, a young woman struggled in the pains of labor. A child was about to be born amidst the raging storm, as if nature itself wanted to mark this moment. The midwife, wiping sweat from her brow, whispered to the baby's mother, "This child is of the storm." The mother, Nikola Tesla, despite her pain, her eyes shining like the lightning outside, replied with words of destiny, "No, he will be the Child of Light." That night, Nikola Tesla let out his first cry. His voice, blending with the thunder, seemed to herald that this child would not live an ordinary life. From early childhood, Nikola showed an extraordinary mind. He not only remembered the smallest details but also possessed an imagination so vivid that the images in his mind felt as real as life. Just by hearing a story once, he could envision the entire scene, the sounds, even the sensations. At times, this gift overwhelmed him, blurring the line between reality and imagination. Yet, it later became a powerful tool that allowed Tesla to create inventions without ever needing to draw blueprints. The Tesla family was not wealthy. His father, Nikola Tesla, was a strict Orthodox priest who hoped his son would follow in his footsteps. But it was his mother, Georgina Duca Tesla, who became his greatest inspiration. Though she never received formal schooling, she possessed sharp intelligence and a natural talent for invention. She could craft useful tools with her own hands and had a phenomenal memory. After hearing a poem only once, she could recite it perfectly. Tesla would later insist that all his unusual abilities and inventive spirit came from his mother. Stories about Tesla's extraordinary intelligence as a child have been told again and again. Once, while playing with the village children, a stranger came by and handed out candies. But when it was Tesla's turn, the man shook his head and said, "This boy is too intelligent, I cannot give him any." The children burst into laughter, while Tesla simply stood there, his eyes glimmering with an unexplainable curiosity. It may have been just a casual remark, yet it somehow foretold that this boy did not belong to the ordinary crowd. At school, Nikola quickly astonished his teachers. While his classmates needed pen and paper to solve math problems, he only had to glance at the question and work out the solution in his head. On one occasion, Tesla solved a complex integral without writing down a single symbol. His teacher even suspected him of cheating. But the truth was, Nikola possessed an absolute memory and an extraordinary ability to concentrate, yet Tesla's childhood was far from peaceful. In his family, he had an elder brother named Dane, the pride of the household. Tesla admired him deeply, but fate was cruel. Dane died in a horse-riding accident at a very young age. This loss became a fracture in Tesla's soul, leaving him with the constant feeling that he had to live not only for himself but also for the brother who was gone. At the same time, his parents, especially his father, placed even greater expectations on Nikola, pushing him toward the path of religion, a future completely at odds with the boy's burning dream, to become an engineer. At the age of 17, Nikola contracted a severe case of cholera. He lay bedridden, hovering between life and death. The family, still mourning Dane, feared losing their only surviving son. In his weakest moments, Nikola whispered to his father, "If you let me study engineering, I will try to live." His father, usually stern and unyielding, was moved to tears. He promised, "My son, if you survive, I will let you pursue your dream." That promise became a saving light. Miraculously, Nikola recovered. And from that moment, his path was set, not to preach sermons, but to bring light, just as foretold on the stormy night of his birth, to mankind. New York at the end of the 19th century had not yet appeared in Tesla's mind. Before becoming the Wizard of Electricity, he was still just a young man in Europe, burning with ambition but carrying the cracks of sorrow in his heart. In 1875, Tesla won admission to the Polytechnic Institute in Graz, Austria. It was a dream he had once thought impossible after his father's death left the family destitute. But now, Tesla entered the lecture halls with eyes gleaming, as if lightning bolts were constantly flashing inside his mind. From the very beginning, Tesla stood out. He devoured knowledge with insatiable hunger. His professors were astounded to see a student who could study 18 to 20 hours a day, memorizing entire thick textbooks without taking notes. Formulas, machine diagrams, everything was etched perfectly into his extraordinary memory. Many nights, Tesla stayed awake to unravel the principles of a generator, and the next morning, he would stand before the class and explain them with such clarity that he seemed more like a lecturer than a student. Tesla's memory was so uncanny it bordered on frightening. He could recall every detail of an object he had seen once, reconstruct it in his mind, and rotate it like a three-dimensional blueprint. His teachers called him a living memory machine. But every gift comes with its shadow. Tesla began to descend into obsession. He did not merely study, he was compelled by an inner drive to surpass everyone. Instead of making friends or living a normal student's life, he buried himself in books, neglecting food and sleep, growing thinner by the day. Tesla once wrote, "When I work, I forget time. I forget even myself." This tension soon pushed Tesla into another trap, gambling. What began as harmless fun with friends quickly turned into an addiction. He gambled day and night until all his scholarship money and family allowance were gone. He lost everything, then borrowed more. Each time he swore to quit, but he always found himself back at the gaming table, as if hypnotized. At times, Tesla wrote home, promising change. But in reality, his parents were heartbroken to hear that their genius son was sinking into debt. His father, stern as ever, sent him letters of admonishment. Not long after, however, his father himself passed away in grief, when Tesla was only 23 years old. That death was like a blade driven into Tesla's soul. He abandoned his studies, never earning a degree. From a brilliant student with a promising future, Tesla became a wanderer drifting through European cities, taking on any job to survive. From teaching, to working as a lowly engineer, even manual labor, Tesla sank into a spiritual crisis. At night, he roamed the streets, imagining flashes of lightning and strange machines appearing vividly in his mind. His friends called him a daydreamer. Yet it was in this period of darkness that Tesla began to form his bizarre ideas about a new kind of energy, a light that would one day transform all of humanity. Years later, when he had already become a famous inventor, Tesla admitted, "It was precisely that time of confusion that taught me one lesson: intellect must never be lost in desire. But thanks to the darkness, I was able to see the light more clearly." And then, as if guided by fate, events drew Tesla closer to America, the promised land where he would write the most glorious chapter of his life. June 1884. An old steamship plowed through the Atlantic, carrying hundreds of dreams across the ocean to the land of hope, America. Among the crowd was a tall, gaunt young man, his bright eyes hollowed by sleepless nights, clutching a small bag tightly. Inside, he carried only a few coins, some hastily written poems, and a strange letter of introduction. "I know of only two great geniuses in the field of electricity. One is Mr. Edison. The other is the man who brings you this letter." That young man was Nikola Tesla. His journey across the ocean was anything but smooth. On board, Tesla was robbed of all his belongings, left with only the letter of introduction and a few loose coins. Yet he did not panic. For in his mind, Tesla carried something far more valuable, the vision of a new electrical system, alternating current, AC. An idea that could change the entire world. When he finally set foot in New York, Tesla was overwhelmed. The city rose before him like a labyrinth of iron, smoke, and noise. Amidst the urban chaos, Thomas Edison's electric bulbs were already shining, earning him the title, the man who brought light to America. Tesla knew that if he wanted to turn his dream into reality, he had to meet Edison, and then, the opportunity came. One day, Tesla was brought to Edison's office. The room was cluttered with wires, engines roaring, and the clatter of metal echoing constantly. Amidst the chaos stood Edison, a stocky man, busy and commanding, his sharp eyes seeming to peer straight through anyone before him. Edison sized Tesla up from head to toe, no doubt judging the foreign young man with a heavy Eastern European accent. Tesla, in turn, gathered all his courage and spoke, "Mr. Edison, I can improve your entire electrical system. Make it stronger, more efficient." Edison narrowed his eyes, half curious, half mocking. "That's quite a claim. My system already lights up all of New York. Who are you to say you can do better?" Tesla did not flinch. With calm precision, he grabbed a pen and began sketching diagrams on paper, pointing out the flaws in Edison's design. His lines were sharp, his analysis detailed down to the very screws. Edison was taken aback. Few dared to criticize his inventions, and fewer still could do it with such accuracy. At last, Edison let out a sly chuckle. "Very well, if you can do it, I'll pay you $50,000. It was an enormous sum at the time, enough to make Tesla a millionaire. But money had never been Tesla's goal. He merely smiled, a thought ringing in his mind, "This is only the beginning." "Edison, you have no idea what you're about to face." That meeting, which seemed like an opportunity, would in fact mark the beginning of the fiercest battle in the history of science, the war of currents. In his early days working for Edison, Tesla was like a living machine. He threw himself into the work with relentless passion, fixing countless technical problems in Edison's generators, issues that had plagued his team for months. Tesla's designs and improvements left the entire laboratory stunned. Edison, famous for his strictness, had to admit, "This young man truly is different." But when Tesla finally completed a full system upgrade and reminded Edison of the promised $50,000 reward, Edison sneered, "Tesla, you don't understand American humor. I was only joking." The betrayal cut Tesla to the core. He walked away from Edison, bitterly disappointed but carrying within him an iron resolve. Alternating current, AC, would replace Edison's direct current, DC, and so, the war of currents began. Edison was an American icon, celebrated by the press as the Wizard of Menlo Park. He championed direct current, DC, which could only transmit electricity over short distances, required costly wiring, but was relatively safer. Tesla, however, believed that AC, alternating current, was the true key. It could transmit power across tens, even hundreds of kilometers with minimal loss, opening the door to a world bathed in cheap, abundant light. Two opposing visions, two colossal egos, a clash was inevitable. Edison understood that if AC triumphed, his entire DC empire would collapse. And so, he launched an unprecedented campaign, a crusade to smear AC in the eyes of the public. Edison staged demonstrations, sending alternating current through dogs, cats, even horses, to prove it was deadly dangerous. At the peak of this campaign, he was involved in the development of the electric chair, using AC to execute criminals, engraving into the public's mind the terrifying equation, AC equals death. People shuddered at the executions, newspapers screamed headlines, "Alternating current, a cruel instrument of death." Meanwhile, Tesla stood on the opposite side. He organized demonstrations of an entirely different kind, using AC to light hundreds of bulbs, unleashing spectacular sparks from his Tesla coil, and even letting current pass through his own body to prove its safety. Crowds gasped in awe as Tesla stood on stage, his figure glowing like some supernatural being, smiling calmly all the while. "You see, it is not electricity that is dangerous, but ignorance itself," Tesla declared. The war was not just about science, it was about media, politics, and power. Edison had newspapers, fame, and wealth. Tesla was alone, but he soon gained an unexpected ally, George Westinghouse, the industrialist willing to invest in turning AC into reality. together, Westinghouse and Tesla built the first alternating current power plants. Edison struck back with everything he had: lawsuits, bribes, intimidation. But then, the turning point came, when the organizers of the 1893 Chicago World's Fair awarded the contract for lighting to Tesla and Westinghouse. On opening night, hundreds of thousands of AC-powered light bulbs blazed to life, transforming the fair into a dazzling city of light unlike anything the world had ever seen. The crowd was left in awe. It was a historic moment. AC had defeated DC. Tesla was victorious, while Edison bitterly watched his empire begin to crumble, but Tesla did not stop there. In his mind, an even greater dream was forming, the dream of wireless power, of bringing electricity to the entire world without a single wire. After the glorious victory at the Chicago World's Fair, Tesla and Westinghouse faced an even greater challenge: conquering Niagara Falls. Niagara, the colossal waterfall straddling the U.S.-Canada border, had long been a symbol of untamed natural power. Its torrents could crush any man-made structure. Many engineers and inventors had dreamed of harnessing its immense force, yet all had failed. It was deemed impossible, but Tesla was different. In visions from his youth in Europe, he had imagined a great waterfall driving giant wheels, converting water's might into electricity to illuminate every home. To Tesla, Niagara was not merely a project, it was the realization of a childhood dream. By the late 19th century, the Niagara project had become the golden prize, fought over by industrial giants. Edison with DC, Westinghouse with AC, and many others entered the race. The Niagara Commission, made up of some of the greatest minds of the era, had to decide. In the end, thanks to the boldness and the undeniable proof shown at Chicago, Tesla and Westinghouse won. Tesla was moved to tears upon hearing the news. He knew this was not just a contract, but the ultimate chance to prove to the world that AC was the future. Construction began. Thousands of workers toiled day and night, carving massive tunnels to divert water into turbines. On the blueprints, Tesla sketched vast induction motors, the beating heart of the system, that would turn Niagara's power into electricity. In 1896, the Niagara hydroelectric plant officially went into operation. The day AC current from Niagara reached the city of Buffalo, tens of kilometers away, history turned a new page. Homes lit up with electric lamps, factories roared to life with machines powered by electricity, the region bathed in the light and sound of modernity. Newspapers hailed it as the eighth wonder of the world. Standing before the thundering falls, Tesla whispered, "I have tamed you, not to destroy, but to turn nature's power into life for mankind." The success of Niagara silenced all doubt. AC became the global standard, ushering in the age of electrification across the world. Tesla's name spread far and wide. He was called the conqueror of the falls, the bringer of the gods' fire. To the public, Tesla was no longer just a scientist, he was a living legend, but at the very peak of his glory, Tesla's gaze reached further still. Niagara was not the end. He did not want humanity to depend solely on massive power stations. In his mind, he nurtured an even bolder dream, a world without wires, a world where energy flowed everywhere, free and infinite, and from here, destiny would lead him down a path both magnificent and tragic. Niagara had raised Tesla to the summit of fame. But for him, it was only the beginning. For within his brilliant mind still burned a greater dream, a wireless world. Tesla believed that the Earth itself was a giant sphere capable of conducting energy. If harnessed correctly, electricity could be transmitted through the air, reaching every corner of the planet, without wires, without massive power plants. One day, mankind would simply need to plug a small device into the ground to light a bulb, power machines, or send signals across oceans. That sounded like science fiction, but in Tesla's mind, it was the inevitable future of humanity. To turn this mad idea into reality, Tesla began constructing the Wardencliffe Tower on Long Island, New York. Launched in 1901, the project rose over 50 meters high, topped with a massive steel dome that looked like it belonged to some alien civilization. Locals who saw the tower whispered and nicknamed it Tesla's lightning rod of madness. Inside Wardencliffe lay a labyrinth of transformers, induction coils, and strange devices that only Tesla fully understood. He believed that from this site, energy could be transmitted across the globe, wireless, limitless.to fund the tower, Tesla turned to J.P. Morgan, the most powerful financier in America at the time. Morgan agreed to invest, but on one condition: the project had to serve an economic purpose. He wanted a global telecommunications system that could charge users. Tesla nodded in agreement, but deep down, he nurtured a different dream: free energy for all humanity. When Morgan discovered Tesla's true intentions, he was furious. For a practical businessman like him, free electricity was nothing less than a death sentence to profits. Morgan cut off all funding. Other investors followed suit and pulled out. With no money left, Tesla was forced to halt construction. The tower was never completed. In 1906, Tesla staged one final demonstration at Wardencliffe. He unleashed colossal bolts of electricity into the night sky, artificial thunder echoing, lightning illuminating the heavens, but instead of admiration, the public reacted with fear. The press branded him the madman toying with the power of the gods. Investors never returned. Wardenclyffe became a deserted ruin, standing silent in the windswept fields. Tesla was left penniless. Years of effort, fortune, and faith had vanished into nothing, and from here, the tragedy began. After the Wardenclyffe failure, Tesla lost the trust of financiers and the scientific community. He was dismissed as eccentric, detached from reality. His new ideas, whether transmitting energy through the earth, building a death ray weapon, or predicting a world connected by radio waves, were all ridiculed as delusions. Meanwhile, Thomas Edison and other inventors thrived, becoming wealthy businessmen. Tesla, though still a genius, slipped into poverty, often borrowing just to survive. Wardenclyffe was not just a technical failure, it was a wound that never healed. It turned a once celebrated genius into a forgotten recluse, locking himself away in a world of dreams that never came true. Yet even in the bitter aftermath, Tesla's mind continued to burn brightly. He produced new inventions and strange ideas. Some became the foundation of modern technology, others were buried in doubt, and some dismissed as sheer madness. Long before Marconi was hailed as the father of radio, Tesla had already experimented with wireless signals. He believed information could be transmitted across the ocean, uniting all of humanity. Tesla once declared, "One day, mankind will hold in their hands a small device, capable of playing music, speaking, and communicating with the whole world." It sounded like fantasy in the early 20th century, yet today it is the reality of smartphones, the internet, and the global communications network. Ironically, Marconi, with his immense financial backing, brought radio waves into practice first and won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1909. Tesla was furious: "He just used 17 of my patents to pull that stunt." But no one listened. It was not until 1943, after Tesla's death, that the U.S. Supreme Court officially recognized him as the true pioneer of radio waves. In the 1930s, as the world was being drawn into the whirlpool of conflict, Tesla announced a shocking invention: the death ray, a type of energy beam capable of shooting down airplanes from hundreds of kilometers away. That he insisted it was not an offensive weapon, but an absolute shield, something that could make every nation invulnerable, thereby ending all wars. The press immediately branded him the mad scientist. Governments, meanwhile, were both curious and wary. Some officials secretly approached Tesla, wanting to buy the designs, but he refused to sell them to any single nation. Tesla wanted this technology to serve humanity, but once again, the world was not ready for his ideals. As time went on, Tesla's eccentric habits became more apparent. He suffered from obsessive, compulsive disorder, OCD. He hated dust, feared germs, was obsessed with the number 3, and would only stay in hotel rooms divisible by 3. That he detested jewelry, especially pearls. If he saw a woman wearing a pearl necklace, he would immediately walk away. Instead of friends or family, Tesla devoted special affection to pigeons. He often went to New York parks to feed them, and once confessed, "I loved that white pigeon as I would a human being. As long as it was with me, my life had meaning." Many believed this was a sign of his desperate loneliness, a great genius who found solace only in a fragile bird. By this stage, Tesla's name had faded. He still came up with ideas such as harnessing Earth's magnetic energy, instant wireless communication, or predicting earthquakes through resonance, but most remained on paper. The scientific community believed he had lost his mind. The public saw him as a peculiar figure in New York City, a tall, frail old man in a worn-out suit, keeping pigeons in his cheap hotel room, yet, in that darkness, flashes of genius still appeared. Tesla's final notebooks were filled with diagrams, formulas, and predictions far ahead of his time, many of which would only be realized in the late 20th or even 21st century. Early 20th century New York was a city that never slept, electric lights glowing, trams rattling, radios echoing everywhere, all carrying Tesla's imprint. But ironically, while humanity enjoyed the fruits of his genius, Tesla himself lived in poverty and obscurity that he no longer had luxurious laboratories or investors surrounding him. He drifted from hotel to hotel, often evicted because he couldn't pay the rent. By age 70, Tesla looked like a frail old man, tall and thin, moving briskly in a shabby suit, his hands trembling from illness. He often dined alone, his meals consisting only of milk, biscuits, and vegetables. In the memories of the New Yorker hotel staff, where he spent his final years, Tesla was an eccentric but polite man, always speaking softly, yet absolutely unwilling to be touched. While friends, colleagues, and family had long abandoned him, Tesla found comfort among the pigeons in the park. He often bought corn to feed them, especially cherishing a white pigeon. He confided to his few close acquaintances, "I loved it as I would a human being. As long as it was with me, I still had a reason to live." One time, when the bird was injured, Tesla brought it to his room and nursed it daily. When it eventually died, he grieved, "The light of my life has gone out." That moment, many believed, marked the loss of Tesla's last spiritual anchor. Though dismissed as eccentric, Tesla never stopped creating. He wrote hundreds of pages of notes on projects such as wireless energy, generators powered by natural forces, and an energy shield to prevent wars. In 1931, at the age of 75, he appeared on the cover of Time magazine, a belated recognition for the lonely genius. But soon after, the spotlight faded. Tesla returned to his empty room, with nothing but pen, paper, and pigeons. On January 7, 1943, Nikola Tesla died alone in room 3327 of the New Yorker Hotel, at the age of 86. He passed without family, without mourners, leaving behind an enormous legacy still not fully understood. Days later, the FBI immediately seized all of Tesla's papers, notebooks, and devices. Many believed they contained designs for the death ray and other technologies far ahead of their time. To this day, much of it remains a mystery. To the world, Tesla was an eccentric, a mad scientist. But in history's eyes, he was the man who lit up humanity, laying the foundations for alternating current, radio waves, robotics, wireless energy, and countless modern technologies. His life was like electricity itself, at times blazing with brilliance, at times lost in darkness, always oscillating between genius and madness. On January 8, 1943, news of Tesla's death appeared quietly in a few New York newspapers. There was no grand funeral, no eloquent eulogies, just a few short lines about an eccentric scientist who died in solitude. Yet behind that quiet death lies one of the greatest mysteries of the 20th century, who truly took possession of Tesla's final documents. And what did they contain? The moment Tesla drew his last breath, the FBI and the Office of Alien Property immediately sealed room 3327 of the New Yorker Hotel. They carried away 2 large trunks filled with drawings, notebooks, and models. The public knew nothing of this. Only many years later were the documents declassified. Among them stood out sketches of the death ray, a beam weapon capable of destroying aircraft from afar. A global wireless energy transmission system, a successor to the Wardencliffe Tower. An earthquake machine, a resonant device that could shake buildings or even trigger landslides. Fragmented notes on time travel machines and even communication with extraterrestrials. Rumors spread that even the US military dared not release everything, fearing such knowledge might fall into enemy hands in the midst of World War II. Few know this detail. The US government assigned John G. Trump, uncle of former President Donald Trump, then a physicist at MIT, to evaluate Tesla's documents. John Trump concluded, the papers contained nothing of immediate practical application, mostly theoretical ideas and incomplete sketches. But many historians suspect the report deliberately downplayed the significance of Tesla's work, while some secret devices were quietly moved to military laboratories. Another theory even suggests that John von Neumann, the mathematical genius and father of modern computing, had access to part of Tesla's research and incorporated it into top-secret projects like the Manhattan Project. In conspiracy circles, Tesla's name is inseparable from one of the strangest legends, the Philadelphia experiment. That it is said that the U.S. Navy, using Tesla's notes, tested an invisible electromagnetic field to make a warship vanish from radar. Some witnesses even claimed the ship teleported from Philadelphia to Norfolk and back, leaving its crew in a state of madness. The U.S. government has never admitted this. But whenever mysterious disappearance technology is mentioned, Tesla's name resurfaces. Over the years, some of Tesla's materials were returned to his family in Yugoslavia, now Serbia. Others were placed in secret archives. But dozens of boxes of notes vanished without a trace. Were they destroyed, or are they still hidden away in some U.S. military vault? No one knows for sure. What is certain is that many of Tesla's ideas, from directed energy weapons to wireless electricity, later appeared in military projects and modern technologies. Tesla's death marked a new chapter. From a forgotten scientist, he became an enigmatic symbol tied to countless theories of technologies beyond human comprehension. Did he truly create a death ray? Did he make contact with extraterrestrial intelligence, or were they merely the dreams of a solitary genius? No one has a definitive answer. But the truth is clear. Tesla was centuries ahead of his time, and humanity is still chasing his footsteps. Nikola Tesla died quietly in a small hotel room, yet the light he ignited still shines on. In the years following his death, the world slowly began to realize it had overlooked one of the greatest minds in human history. At first, Tesla almost vanished from textbooks. People praised Edison, Marconi, Westinghouse, while Tesla's name appeared only as a side character. But over time, researchers discovered that Tesla was the true foundation of modern technology. Alternating current, AC, the very electrical system the entire world uses today, was thanks to him. Radio waves, remote control, robotics, all trace back to his experiments. The idea of wireless power transmission and a global network, now uncannily similar to the internet and mobile technology. In 1960, his name was officially given to the unit of magnetic flux density, the Tesla, T. This marked the first time the international scientific community publicly honored him. Gradually, Tesla became a cultural icon. Films like The Prestige portrayed him as a mysterious inventor. Novels, comics, and even video games drew inspiration from him. The electric car company Tesla Motors, founded by Elon Musk, took his name as a tribute, a symbol of clean energy and the technological future. Today, Tesla's image is more than that of a scientist. He stands as a symbol of limitless imagination. Tesla lived his entire life in poverty, but he left behind ideas centuries ahead of their time. He once dreamed of a world without war, thanks to peaceful energy, without poverty, thanks to infinite natural power, where humanity is connected globally, across all borders. Even today, humanity still struggles to realize these dreams. Perhaps Tesla was too early for his era, a traveler from the future, lost in a world unprepared to receive him. Today, those who study Tesla see not only a scientist, but a symbol of courage, the courage to dream and to defy limits. That he taught humanity a lesson. Great ideas are often ridiculed, dismissed. But if you believe in them, one day the world will recognize your value. Tesla died in solitude, but his name will never fade. Every beam of light, every radio wave, every wireless signal whispers to us, Nikola Tesla, the man who brought the fire of the gods to humankind. Asterisk, the life of Nikola Tesla was like a tragic epic, brilliant yet shadowed. He reached the heights of glory, then fell into the depths of loneliness. People once called him a madman, yet it was precisely those mad ideas that laid the foundation for the modern world we live in today. Now, every electric light, every wireless signal, every smartphone in our hands carries Tesla's imprint. He may have died in obscurity, but the legacy he left endures forever with humanity. Tesla was not only an inventor, but a symbol of humanity's quest to conquer the future, of the boundless power of imagination. And perhaps, Tesla's greatest lesson to us is this: do not fear when others call you eccentric. For sometimes, to change the world, you must dare to dream dreams others would not even dare to imagine. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you found this story fascinating, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to continue exploring the great mysteries of human history.